All right, good morning, everyone. It's Feature Friday, and today I have a specific question that came in on the live chat. If you ever have questions, the live chat is a really good thing on Pagewheel. Any of the pages, you will be connected directly with me in 99% of the cases. And if I don't know the answer, we'll find it out. So, and this is one of those things I thought it would be good to have a little recording as an answer to this question. So the question was, is from someone who's been in business for 9 years, and she's done all sorts of different things, but she wants to do like some sort of digital product workshop, something like that. But she's just like, how do I sell it? So I thought we would go through some of, and by the way, super common question. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we built Pagewheel is because I have Googled such things. And the answers I was getting before were difficult, expensive, and convoluted on purpose, in my opinion. So let's talk about really specifics on that. And so I'm going to start by sharing my screen and going through some of the tools that we've built into Pagewheel. And then we have experts in this room that have sold things and that are working on selling things. And by the way, if there was one formula, like there was like, hey, do 1, 2, 3, I would have packaged that and sold it over and over and over again. There's no one formula. Now we've gotten as close as we can to a formula with Pagewheel, but that's why I want to open it up to everybody's experiences, because everybody has a little bit different product, a little bit different audience, and a little bit different stage that you're in the business. So like if you're a beginner, you're going to do things that are a little bit different than if you have a massive audience already. So those are a little bit different things. So it's not a reflection of it's a reflection of trying to figure out like how those moving pieces work in your business. So let's go into sharing my screen. All right, I am in the dashboard of Pagewheel, and what I'm going to do is we're going to go into one of these recent products that I've created. And when you've created something in Pagewheel, you're going to see it in the recent products. If you don't see it, go ahead and click on that, go to product library, because you'll bring all of them up. But what I want to do is pretend like we're at the end of creating something. So in this case, we're going to pretend like we got to the end we made a workshop. And there is a video on how to make a workshop on the Pagewheel blog. If you need that link, just you look on the blog or just message me in live chat. And so instead of clicking on this to edit the product, or clicking on this to see the website or that kind of stuff, I'm going to hit the promote tab right here. And what that's going to do is take me over to what I call is the other side of Pagewheel, where all this content is created with AI in a way that we're going to copy and paste it or download it and take it somewhere else. Whereas the other side, the digital product side, is everything is kind of made and hosted inside of Pagewheel. But this side is all these ideas and things that we can take elsewhere. So you can see that it actually put in what that product is. So we are doing a healthy lunchbox packing guide workshop. Let's do for busy parents. Okay. And I like to start with, let's start with a social calendar, and let's do the 2 weeks of conversations. And then let's talk about the sales conversation ladder. If you're just getting started, those are probably the 3 that I might look at first. And asterisks, also the meme packs, but that we're going to talk about in just a minute, because we're going to put a little different prompt in for that. So let's take me to my copy. And while that's generating, what we're looking for here is ideas of how we can post on social media about this product, not in a super salesy way, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product, but in a conversational way, because what we're trying to do is find a fit. Because when you have a solution to a problem, and you have someone with that problem online, and you're like, hey, I had this problem, I solved this problem, and that person knows and trusts you, it's a no-brainer for them to take that next step with you versus some random spammer on the internet. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of times just content is super important. That it increases your like, know, trust factor, and then it makes you the person that they like, know, and trust, so that if you say, hey, by the way, I have this, I can solve this for you, it's not even like you're not even selling at that point. And I love it when sales is just like a matchmaking service, because it feels so much better to both of you. So here with the social calendar is a whole bunch of different ways that you could take this, put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, put it on Pinterest, and just start that conversation, not only just about like what you know and what you can do, but give them the foundation to see it over and over again in different ways. So this is basically how to have the same conversation unlimited amounts of ways. And so like here is on Sunday, it says introduce the workshop and invite parents to learn how to pack healthy lunch boxes without their kids stressing out. You might even add a link to the registration page. So in this case, you might say, hey, I had this problem. And in my case, how I solved my lunch packing problem is I taught my kids how to pack their own lunches. And so one of the ways that you can solve this problem in your house, because guess what? Kids pack lunches that they'll eat. So if you can set up a system in your house that all of a sudden you don't have to be involved in the packing of lunches other than you set up this system. And then guess what? The kids are responsible for their own lunches. And guess what? Because of the system keeps the healthy food in there, they're going to pack what they're actually going to eat in a few hours, that it's a win-win situation for all. So let's say you're on the other side of that and you have a house full of children and you spent the whole evening packing lunches for a while and you're just like, I'm over this because I pack these things that nobody eats. You can see how, like, if you were in that situation and you already like and know me and trust me, like, that's like a super no-brainer. Like, you could see how, like, if that was something that you had a angst in your life and I'm going to solve it for you in 45 minutes and a few handouts, you'd probably pay quite a lot of money for that. So all of a sudden, it's not even a sales thing. It's like, hey, I had this problem. I solved it this way. Are you interested? Hey, come visit me. Now, if you're just getting started, anytime that you're putting out something that has a link to something, is like the link to the sales page of that workshop or something like that, the link in that conversation is going to decrease the algorithmic reach, meaning that if you put the link in the description, that less people are organically going to see it, because Facebook, Instagram, all these places don't love that. So what you might want to do is say, hey, if you're interested, just DM me or leave a comment below, or give them some way to reach out and let you know that they're interested. And guess what? When you do that, that gives you that permission that you're now in a one-on-one conversation with them. So it's not just like a transaction, but they might say, hey, tell me a little bit more about this. And you could be a human and be like, oh, yeah, I think, tell me more about your problems. Yeah, I think this would really work for you. Well, I have kids that are 4. Will this work for you? Yes. Guess what? My kindergartner, he was the one, he's this, how I perfected this system, because he was so picky. And guess what? At 4 and 5, they can totally pack their own lunches. So you can see how that obstacle of that person saying, oh, my kids are too young, this isn't going to work for me. If I get in a one-on-one conversation, I realize that that's a barrier for them to think that this is worth a good fit for them. And I can overcome that with just a simple conversation. And you can see, even in that conversation, I'm not like, buy it, buy it, buy it. I'm like, hey, let's talk more about this problem and this solution. So that's the basics of the social calendar. And let's go to the 2 weeks of conversations, because we set this up thinking about, hey, how can you be conversational in Facebook groups, on your Facebook page, in one-on-one conversations that will draw out, like, not just broadcast, but get people involved in the conversation. So what was the last lunchbox you packed? I love that. In fact, that would be a really great question for engagement. Like, what was the last lunch you packed? Like, what was in it? And we, when we like as humans, especially women, when we have, we know the answer. We're like the people on the front row of the classroom. When we know the answer, we can't help we can't help it but answer it because we're like, oh, I know this one. I know this one. So I like, oh my gosh. And the funny thing is because I started this, I have 3 boys that are now in college and beyond. But like I can literally remember the last lunchbox I packed, even though it was, I don't know, 15 years ago. So these are just really fun ways to start letting people know. And you know what? If like think about this. If I was talking about lunch boxes and how did you pack them? What's your problems? What's the lunchbox ingredient you discovered that makes your lunches healthier? What a fun question. Like all these little hacks and tips. And if I'm always posting about like kids' lunches and lunchbox, that when I come out with a lunch packing workshop, it's not a surprise to anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like all of a sudden, like, and we do this a lot of times to our customers. I'm like, hey, we're packing lunches, packing lunches, packing lunches. I'm parenting, I'm, rushing them to school, all this kind of stuff. And then I'm like, hey, do you want to learn how to invest? Let's do a financial workshop. And people are like, what? Like, why would we trust the girl that packs lunches? Now, if I had been also conversating about, what, the reason why I'm a stay-at-home mom is because I have, I do this investment. I don't, so like, don't trust me on that subject. But like, but you can see how if I had had a different conversation on a regular schedule around investments or something else, it would be totally natural for me to launch that workshop. But when I'm like lunch packing, lunch packing, lunch packing, all of a sudden I throw something out of left field, you can see how that feels weird to my community. So that's one of the reasons why we want to have these conversations around the products that you're promoting and selling. And let's go to one more of these, which is the sales ladder. And this is something I think about these as conversations to sell, which is why we put conversations to sell, is you're really going into why someone needs this. And this just gives you kind of a thesaurus of ways, again, to approach that to get people like interested, understand what you have to offer and stuff like that. So let's just look at one of these. The struggle of packing a nutritious lunchbox for busy parents is real. Seriously. But there are solutions out there interested in learning how to make the process easier while keeping your child healthy and happy. So you can see how like you are acknowledging that struggle is real, because those of us who've been in the trenches of this know that like it seems so simple, but it's such a big deal, especially if you're trying to keep them healthy, if you're trying to actually get food in the lunchbox that they'll eat, et cetera, et cetera. So these are just some ways that you can go around this that will help you have conversations so you don't feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again. Before I open it up to, because what I would love to do is, and I'm gonna ask the question so you can think about it a minute, is that I would love to hear how you use not just Pagewheel, but like what conversations, what techniques you use on social media to get your community to know like that, what you're doing, what you're interested, what you're an expert in, and then how that translates to selling. So I'm going to ask the people that are in the room right now for that in just a second. But I do want to go back before we do that, back to the meme packs, because this is one of the ways you can start seeding in the internet sphere that what your niche is. So, but for meme packs, what I would love to do is just put lunchbox packing. You want to make it as small as possible because the memes will turn out better. And let's just hit the meme packs real quick. And here again, this is just a way to let people know that, hey, I talk about this, or hey, I'm interested in this, or hey, I'm an expert in this, in a funny and silly way. And then you could take these and you could either just take the copy and just put it directly into a social media. You could use one of our templates by clicking right here and going to Canva and creating one of these graphics as a square graphic that you could put on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest or something like that. A lot of people are using them in video. So you might take a stock video or a video yourself and then just put words on it to do a little short or or something like that. So why did the sandwich cross the lunchbox? To spread the mustard on the other side. These are ridiculous and don't make sense sometimes, but sometimes that's, people like need something light and airy in their life. So you can play with this, but this gives you just another tool in your toolbox to let people know, oh, that lunchbox post came from Holly. It totally makes sense because she's always talking about solutions and hacks and tips on how to make that easier for me. All right. So let me stop sharing here. And I would love to hear from those of you in the room about some of the techniques you're using to, number one, start conversations to attract your perfect customer to that, and then how you translate that to actual sales afterwards. Any volunteers? I'm going to start calling on people because Kim.
That's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
You're going to just volunteer. Well, no, we probably would. See, I'm going to start a conversation. Everybody else is going to jump in, and I'm going to call on the next person. That's how this game's going to be played.
Thank you.
Sandy, you better be ready. How I sell, I took a course by Rachel Miller about 4 years ago about building an audience because I wanted to build a membership, and I figured without an audience, I had nobody to sell to. So I took her course, and it's been the best thing I ever did. And actually, you'll be taking her course for a lot less than I paid. But anyway, it's the best investment I ever made because I can build an audience. And I mean, I've got an audience on email, I've got an audience on YouTube, I've got an audience on Facebook. And then I've content up because I'm a crafter, creator, painter. I put that kind of stuff out. They connect with me on that level, like they see me crafting and creating. And then I make workshops and sell them. So I did a workshop on this busted canvas fad that's going on right now. And I just did one with my own printables, and I did the video, I put it on Facebook, I put it on YouTube, and I added a link to a Pagewheel product and said, hey, if you want these printables that I'm using, because I know crafters want exactly the thing that you use, not sort of kind of. A lot of times they're afraid that if they don't get exactly what you used and you use exactly the same paints and things, that they're not going to get the right results because they're not that experienced yet, right? So I'm teaching beginners, so I give them the opportunity, and it's been selling. And every time I see my sales, I'm like, oh, it's so cool. I don't even know, like when I put the last ad, like it's organic ad sort of thing. The last time I posted that on my Facebook page a couple days ago, and then bing, there's a sale. I'm like, it just still makes me happy. Every time I see bing, there's a sale. Now I need to scale it up still, and of course find other offers and things like that in my world. But because I hang out on my Facebook page and we're social with each other, they when I do like a crafting, let's do a clutter-free craft room workshop or a bow making workshop, because they've seen me teach, they've trusted me, and they're ready. So.
And I love that. Like, and before you call on the next person, I would like to bring up the point that Kim's audience is such that it's not like she's hard selling them at any point. She's like, hey, do you want this? And there's enough, her audience is large enough that there's enough people to raise their hand that she's making really good money. And so this is what we're talking about, is we're not going out and like being the used car salesman. But if you need a car and Kim has a car, then you're going to buy it from Kim.
I usually don't even have a product made when I make the offer. Like, my favorite words are, hey, I'm thinking about, and I put it out there, and hands up if you might be interested. And that tells me before I even create the thing whether there's going to be enough interest or not. If I get crickets, I'm like, I'll leave that for now. I'll come back another time to it.
I love it. All right, Kim, call on the next person. Oh, she's frozen. Just a second. All right, I'm gonna call on Sandy since Kim's frozen.
I need to go back on vacation. So I haven't, I just took the course that Kim took years ago, and I'm learning. I have been building my Facebook page for 12 years, but not in the audience kind of way, just by living my life. And I have done a Canva workshop, and because people know me, it was easy for me to do. I just started putting things out there that, who's having problems with this, and using Pagewheel helped me start. And now what I'm excited about is I have the transcript from my video, and it's helping me make the next workshop and a workbook so it will give the next level for my next course. And learning how to use the memes and all of that, that's been amazing.
I love that. So you're saying that you just lived your life and told people about it, and they started liking, knowing, and trusting you. And so then you're like, hey, does anyone have this problem? And guess what? There were people that raised their hands.
Correct.
Did you hunt them down and like make them buy your product?
No, in fact, I've had people ask me to do a Canva workshop because of just how I post on my page.
So I love that. So, and this is kind of what I'm talking about with the sales process is a lot of us have this really icky feeling in the pit of our stomach when we're like, oh, we have to go sell. But like, you're just solving that person's problem. Like you're legitimately and so those people, there's nobody that's like, hey, Sandy, can you teach me how to do Canva? And then they're like, stop selling me. Like that's not the conversation. So I love that. So Sandy, pick the next person. We'll do one more.
Okay, so let's go with Sean.
Okay, fine. So I don't, I was thinking about that. Some of the things that I do, I will really just like Sandy was saying, just live life and post things about my grandkids and some of the adventures that we go on, and of course my focus is the ADHD, and being uh plagued with that. I'll post funny little just sentences, I guess you would call them memes, like what if the hokey pokey is what it's all about, you know and and so that's and I always get really great responses from those things, and one of the things that I learned, if you are talking about a subject, or you are passionate about a subject, go try to make a podcast episode about it, and then you'll really find out how much you know, and how organic it is for you to talk about that. Because the first time that I tried to do that, I stuttered and stammered and re-recorded it probably 1,000 times, which is probably the ADHD in my life. But um it really helps you to really focus in on on that subject. And people, when you like when I do like the blog posts and about different symptoms and things like that, people really like that. And I'll interact with them. And that's one of the main things is, you'll get a lot of comments, a lot of likes and stuff, but the ones that you comment back and answer the most, it really it like blossoms that engagement. And people, I mean, I mean, that's what I've been doing. Of course, I always endorse getting education on that stuff, because, I was one of those people that I'm like, well, I check my Facebook regularly, at least once a year, and that I took Rachel's Grow Your Audience. And I think I maybe had a couple hundred followers that or friends or whatever it was at the time. And I thought that was really great. But within less than a month, I was up over 1,000, and so it really works to be able to get some of that education, and it helps in that organic interaction, because the more people that you have, I look at it as kind of like a feeding frenzy. People want to get engaged, they want to be a part of that, and the more you have, the more people are going to want to comment in it.
I love that, Sean. And you've heard from actually all three of these people that they grew audiences just talking about what they do, what they love, all that kind of stuff. So I love that as a start. No matter if you're, and by the way, every single person in this room could have been called on. That's why it was just easy to say, call on the next person, even if you're at the beginning, even if you're at the middle, even if it does, because you have something to share with the world, which is why you're here. You absolutely do. So one of the things we're going to finish up the training right now. And one of the things I want to challenge those of you, if you're in the beginning, I need you to be posting about you, posting about what you're interested in. Even if you don't have a product right now, go in and run something about your niche in Pagewheel. Just find some things that like you think are funny or interesting that kind of fit your niche, because we need people to see you active. Number one, they have to see you first before they can follow you or interact with you. So if you're in the beginning, you need to post. Okay. If you're getting to the point where you're like, okay, I'm thinking about a product, or I'm working on a product, then I need you to post in the conversation sphere around that product. So go ahead and run your ideas for that product in Pagewheel, so you can start having the lunchbox conversations, so that when you pop on with that lunchbox workshop, people, it like registers with people. So if you're just getting started, you're going to start posting everything. If you're going to start posting around that conversation. And then for those of you at that next level, you're going to start posting conversations to sell. Like you're going to start, because, and I've yelled at myself so many times when I see somebody like buying a product from like a scammer or someone that isn't necessarily super reputable. And I'm like, I'm the expert in that. And then I'm like, damn you, Holly, you never let anyone knew you had that product. It's my own fault. So that's the problem and so I'm like doing a disservice to the world if I'm not being loud about what I have to offer, because I've had people who are like, I've known you for 20 years. I didn't even know you sell that. That's not a good thing. Okay. But but in order to just let people know you're launching something, that gives them the thing. It's not like you have to buy this because you're my friend. That's not how this goes down. So that's why start posting, start targeting posting, start posting about the fact that you're selling something. So you can see those levels, and then you can see how that's going to kind of ebb and flow as you have different products, as you have different things. But then to Kim's point, she's continuing to sell those products from a year ago, from 2 years ago, because she mentions it every once in a while. And you see how you would have to mention it every once in a while for those new people, or those people who it wasn't the right time before to actually make that purchase. So what's really lovely is that once you get several products, is that then you kind of have a really natural cycle of, oh, remember when I did this, or I was thinking about this the other day, or if you have this problem, like I have this right now. And that's really obvious for seasonal. Like if for instance, in Kim's, if she had like a Christmas wreath, it totally makes sense that every year she's like promoting that same product. How dare she? because people have that need. And maybe someone didn't have a house last year that needed a Christmas wreath or something. You can see how even within your own community, timing's really important too. And that's why it's really important to continue these things. So, and remember in Pagewheel, I am at the other side of the live chat. So if you have any questions, just chat away or, but I will put a little plug in for our trainings on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So, all right, I'm going to shut down the training.